What is happening in northern Nigeria is something that no sensible person can tolerate. No part of the world will tolerate it, that will allow it to happen. No part of the world will allow what is happening in northern Nigeria to happen without an outrage. It didn't start yesterday. It didn't start today. It has been happening over and over and over again. But the world chose to be silent about it. Suddenly, recently, they woke up from their sleep. In the contraption called Nigeria, there have been daily massacres from Kaduna to Plateau, from Benue to Borno. Christians are slaughtered daily by Fulani terrorists, Boko Haram and ISWAP. Every single thing we say in this platform can be confirmed. All you need to do is to go and Google the information. You will get it. It is there raw. It has been there, but people choose to ignore it. We have video evidence, audio evidence, picture evidence to confirm every single allegation that is being made here. Daily massacre of the Christians in the northern part of Nigeria, from Kaduna to Plateau State, from Borno to Benue State. Christians are slaughtered daily by flying terrorists, Boko Haram and ISWAP. Churches are burned down to ashes. Priests are kidnapped. Churches set on fire. Villages wiped out. This is not just isolated. It is systematic. As we speak, it is even happening in the southwest. As of recently, a priest was kidnapped in the southwest, in Kwara State, and that's priest. After paying 5 million naira ransom, they still murdered the priest. After paying 5 million, that priest was still murdered. And Sahara Reporter reported it. Sahara reporters reported it, and so many of us saw the news. Let me see if I can find that report from Sahara reporters. Because in this program, it is not just saying about issues. It is not just putting out word out there. It is not about propaganda. It is about reality. We speak the truth the way it is, unapologetically. We bring it out, tell you the way it is. It's left for you to either believe it or not, or confirm for yourself. Confirm for yourself. These atrocities have been going on for a very long time. And nobody cares. The world turned a blind eye to it. The world pretend it is not happening. When you talk about it, they turn a blind eye. But today, finally today, they are talking about it. Even though they are late, at least we thank Chukwu that someone out there has finally decided to mention this very grievous crime against humanity happening in the contraption called Nigeria. What you are going to see now is a recent one. What you are just watching now is a recent one that happened in Kwara State. You can see it reported by Sahara reporters. This happened in October 3rd. October 3rd. Terrorists killed, abducted ECOWA pastor in Kwara, despite collecting 5 million ransom. Despite collecting 5 million as ransom, they took his life. A pastor in Kwara State. So when you see what is happening, it is not just limited to the northern part of Nigeria. We are talking about something that has eaten deep, that if not caught, it is going to take over not just Nigeria, it is going to affect the world entirely. The terrorists are building enclave in Nigeria, and the world is busy playing politics. The world is busy playing politics. In Nigeria today, churches are burned, priests are kidnapped, churches set on fire, villages wiped out completely. Villages in Nigeria, villages are wiped out entirely. The whole people in the village wiped out. Fulani people will take over the village, rename the village, and remain there in a place where you have a government and nobody does anything. Nobody does anything. And this is not isolated. It is systemic. It happened in the Southern Kaduna. It happened in Benue State. Continue to happen even as we speak. Even as we speak, it's still ongoing. And the world is silent. The world is silent. Instead of calling it a genocide, the world labeled it farmer headers clashes for a very long time, if not for just yesterday, that they begin to pay attention to it. All this while, Nigerian evil government, Nigerian terrorist government, proscribed and named by Canadian court, continue to project it as farmers header clashes. That is what you have been hearing. They call it farmer header clashes, or they call it banditry. That is the popular word that Nigerian media used to describe the atrocity, the genocide against Christians, the genocide against the Christians in the northern part of Nigeria. They describe it as farmer header clashes. They call it banditry. But in reality, it is a targeted extermination of Christians in the north. And we are going to let you know how this is connected to what is happening in the Biafra land, which Nigerian government is the one in charge. Nigerian government itself are the one carrying this same extermination project in Biafra land, using their terrorist military. But because of economic interests, the world choose to separate these two and choose the one that serves them better, serve their interests, and they are talking about it. Even though it took them years, it took them decades to begin to talk about it. These have been happening for decades. Extermination, they plan to exterminate people, Christians in northern part of Nigeria. But today it has been intensified. They almost completed the assignment. Only when they have almost completed the assignment now, they won't wake up and they begin to talk. As we speak, there are villages that have been exterminated completely. The names of the village changed. The people that committed the genocide took over the land and they are living there even as we speak. When you go to the news, you'll be hearing about camps this, camp that in Nigeria. And you ask me, where are those people? They don't have, do they have a home? Do they have a home? That they are now living in camp, refugee camps. In your country, you are living in refugee camp. Some people have lived in refugee camp in Nigeria for 20 good years. Some children who were born, married there, they were born there and they got married there. These are people who had their homes where they were conducting their daily activities. And all this has happened. Nobody paid attention. Some Christians have remained in their refugee camps in same Nigeria. Some of them were born there. They grew up there. And the world remains silent because they have not been directly affected. Instead of calling it genocide, the terrorist country of Nigeria continue to call it farmer headers clashes. They call it banditry. But in reality, it is targeted extermination of Christians in the north. And the most disturbing one is that the government of Nigeria is complicit in the atrocities against the Christians in the north. The government of Nigeria is fully involved, the same way they are involved in Biafra land. And we are going to prove it today. We are going to prove it with videos. We are going to prove it with written words. We are going to prove it in our discussions. The involvement of Nigerian government in the genocide, in the atrocities, in terrorizing their own citizens. Government complicity. The Nigerian state is silent. And in many cases, enable or protect the killers themselves. They either enable or protect the killers themselves. And we have seen proofs, eyewitness account, testimonies coming from right, left, and center. Even as at yesterday, security forces often arrive after the blood is shared. Or worse, stand aside and watch. Something that happened to the extent that even people who were part of that evil in the past came to confess and begin to say that the government military is colluding with the terrorists. They are colluding, working hard here. To the extent that even a former chief of army staff began to call his people to pick up arms. These were the people who they used to fight against Biafra, and they thought the war was against Biafra during the Civil War. These were the people whom they meant to believe that an Igbo man is the problem, that an Igbo man have come to dominate. The same people they used against us, today, they are eliminating them one after the other. And the world is silent until recently, when they have begun to talk. What you are seeing in the northern part of Nigeria is not just a random terrorism. It is not. It is organized, consistent, and deliberate terrorism. That is what we are seeing in the northern part of Nigeria against the Christians. Very well organized and consistent. They are consistent. It is happening day in, day out. Day in, day out. Even as you speak, it's still ongoing. The only thing we are hearing now is lip service. I call it lip service until they take action. The world is paying attention, but it's still lip service. They need to take action. Enough of all these talks online. Take action. Go on the ground and do something. This very extermination of Christians in the north is not isolated to the Biafran issue. It is not isolated. The federal government of Nigeria is doing exactly the same thing to exterminate the Igbo people in their territory, forcing the Igbo people to vacate their land. If not for the fact that they are so resilient, it would have been a different ballgame. As we speak, they have gone to the extent of recruiting fellow Igbos themselves to carry out this act of terrorism against their own brothers and sisters, sponsored by the federal government of Nigeria through the governors and the politicians. So it is not just about the northern genocide that is happening against the Christians in the north, even in Biafra land. History is repeating itself again. Just as Christians in the north are targeted for their faith, Biafrans, especially the Igbo Biafrans, have been targeted since 1966. What you see today that is happening to the Christians in the north, the northern Christians, is what Biafrans have been facing since 1966 from the pogrom in the north that triggered the Biafran war to the starvation policy that killed over 3 million people of Biafra, mostly children and women. Nigerians' hands are soaked in Igbo's blood. The hand of Nigeria is soaked in Igbo's blood. So what you are seeing today that is happening in the northern part of Nigeria against the Christians in the north, that is causing out that the world have suddenly woke up and begin to talk about, has been happening to the Igbos since 1966 till date. As we speak, it's still ongoing, and nobody cares, nobody pays attention. Igbos are left on their own to defend themselves. And the most painful is that when they come out to defend themselves, Nigeria will activate the conspiracy. We conspire with the world, use the resources of the Igbos to also buy in the walls, buy their silence. They buy their silence. As we speak, the modern operation is still going in Biafra land. Modern operation. Even today, in Aba, Onitsha, Nnewi, Olu, Enugu, and Owerri, innocent civilians are killed by Nigerian security forces every day, even as you are watching me. That genocide is going on in Biafra land, even as well, but nobody talks about it. The world have now chosen to pay attention to Nigeria, genocide happening in Nigeria, but they ignore the genocide that's happening in Biafra land, forgetting that that is the origin. That is the origin. The same people you are seeing today that they're trying to eliminate in the north joined hand in Nigeria also to eliminate Biafrans, continue to commit the genocide since 1966, until when they saw that it is very impossible to exterminate the Biafrans, they withdrew back and they begin to go against the people that worked hand in hand to them against the Biafrans. And today, that genocide have intensified. I thank Chukwu that finally they are paying attention. But why are they separating the genocide in Nigeria and choose one part to discuss one part and forget about one part? Why? Why have they chosen to ignore a section and take a section to discuss? Why is it so? Why is it so? Biafran activists are haunted. Villages are bombed. The same thing Boko Haram is doing in the northern part of Nigeria. Nigerian government is doing exactly the same thing in Biafra land. That's this very thing that is causing outrage, that the whole world is outraged about in the northern part of Nigeria. This crime and genocide against the Christians in the north, the federal government of Nigeria is doing exact thing against the Biafrans in Biafra land, the old southeastern region. They are doing the exact thing. And nobody's talking about it. Pro-Biafran activists are hunted down every day. Villages are bombed. Markets are raided. Markets are raided. Even as we speak, so many markets completely shut down in Biafra land. You saw the program that our sister was conducting where she was showing a Kotutu deserted completely. You cannot see a single person in that market. So many other markets in Biafra land deserted. All thanks to Nigerian terrorist military. Doing the exact thing the Boko Haram are doing in the northern part of Nigeria against the Christians. The same justification. The Nigerian government claims it is restoring peace or fighting terrorists. But in the truth, this is a state-backed genocide against the Biafrans. The same way northern Christians killing are hidden under the label of banditry. So you see, these two things are the same thing, but the world chooses to pay attention to the one that favors them. The one that is not going to affect their economy. The one that's not going to affect their interests. But these two things are the same thing, happening in the same country, by the same, sponsored by the same people. And if you see the way they operate, it is the same justification they are giving to the genocide in Biafra land and the genocide against the Christians in the north. The Nigerian government claims it is restoring peace or fighting terrorists. But in truth, this is not backed. This is state-backed genocide in Biafra land. The same way in the northern part of Nigeria, Christian killing are hidden under the labeling of it is banditry, it is farmers' headers clashes. They never accept responsibility. They always give a title that will enable them to continue the evil unnoticed by the world. So as the world is paying attention to the genocide in the northern part of Nigeria, they should equally pay attention and know that that genocide is connected to Biafra land. It has been going on in Biafra since 1966. It's been going on from the pogrom till date. It's been ongoing. And nobody seems to pay attention. Why are you separating the two? They keep on silencing the Biafran people. Just as northern Christians are silenced through fear. The same way they have silenced the northern people through fear, a northerner cannot confess his faith in the public anymore. They can't speak. They are afraid. Biafrans are silenced through imprisonment because they know that we are fearless. Biafrans cannot keep quiet. You cannot. It doesn't matter how many people you murder. Biafrans will not keep silent. What do? They try to silence us through imprisonment, unlawful detention, and killings. Nnamdi Kanu is a victim of this same oppression. Our Prime Minister, Mazi Simon Ekpa, is a victim of this same oppression. All these things are connected together. So we are calling on international communities and people that matters that when you are talking about this very genocide of Christians in the northern part of Nigeria, it has its base and origin from starting all the way from Biafra land. Because the Biafran people are 99% Christians. Even those that claim to be Jewish and those that claim to be traditional religious, they were once Christians. They were all Christians once in a time. Before they decided to confess. Okay, let's give it to them. 90% of people in Biafra land today are Christians. 90%. 90%, they are Christians. So these two things are connected. So how do you come onto this very issue and you begin to separate them? It is only a calculated attempt. And you know that the main resources that this Boko Haram is chasing is in Biafra land. Their target is in Biafra land. They want to take over the land by all means. If not for the resilience of the Biafrans, the strength of the Biafrans, the fearless nature of the Biafrans, that is why they cannot penetrate. They have tried several times, they couldn't succeed. But today, the federal government itself is on top of the game, doing the job for them. The federal government of Nigeria is the one today sponsoring the genocide of the Biafran people. In Okigwe, they are taking the life of young men and young women, first from 15 years upwards. We have seen several videos of people testifying to this and confirming it. There is a strong connection between the two genocides. The genocide in the northern part of Nigeria against the Christians and the genocide in Biafra land. There is a strong connection between two of them. And until you begin to look into the two, you are not sincere in stopping the genocide. Until you begin to look into the two, you are not sincere. You are not sincere. And that is the truth. Until you begin to look into the two genocide that is going on at the same time, you are not sincere. I don't see any sincerity in what the world is doing. In as much as we appreciate the fact that at least they are turning their light to that entity called Nigeria, that terrorist entity called Nigeria. For the fact that they are turning their light towards that direction, it is a plus, but that is not enough. There is a connection between the genocide in Biafra land and the genocide against northern Christians in the northern part of Nigeria. The same ideology drives both genocide. The same ideology drives both genocide. A Nigeria that does not value Christian life, a Nigeria that sees the Igbos and the Christians as enemies to be subdued. That is the Nigeria we have today. That is the Nigeria you are seeing. The same ideology drives both genocide in Biafra land and genocide in the northern part of Nigeria against the Christians. What you have today is a Nigeria that does not value Christian life. A Nigeria that sees the Igbos and the Christians as enemies that must be subdued. That is the Nigeria you have today. That is the roadmap put in place by the caliphate. That is what the enemies of the people have put in place, and they are pursuing that agenda in different fronts. Where their terrorists cannot operate, they use the Nigerian forces to conduct the activities. The same thing the Nigerian military is doing in Biafra land, burning houses, taking innocent life, is exactly what the terrorists is doing in the northern part of Nigeria against the Christians. the same perpetrators are at play. The same perpetrators, Fulani extremists in the north, backed by the same Nigerian state that sends its military to terrorize Biafra. And the military they send are still repentant Boko Haram, foot soldiers of Fulani. They are the same people that they send to Biafra land. That is why it is the same footprint you see. The way they operate in Biafra land, burning of houses, taking of innocent life. As simple as knowing that you are a Biafran, that is enough to take your life, and nobody is held accountable. Only a terrorist will go ahead and take a man's life for no reason, for no just cause, simply because he doesn't like you. What are the reasons they are burning homes in Biafra land? You go to a family house that houses more than 15 people, a family house that houses one, even if one person there have committed a crime, do you have to destroy the entire building, burn the whole houses, take every life that is there? The only people that does that are terrorists. And that is what Nigerian government is doing in Biafra land. In a country where they say that a man is presumed innocent until proven guilty. But in Nigeria, in Biafran territory, the only thing they need to take your life is to just identify you as a Biafran, an Igbo Biafran, and you are gone. They don't hide it. A policeman will look at your face and tell you the only thing he will do is to drop the flag of Biafra in your body and he will shoot you and you're gone. The only thing he needs to do and shoot you and tell the government that he's a member of IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra. You can imagine that. The connection is so deep that it is the exact thing. So I don't see why anybody should separate these two together. You don't have to separate it. It is the same people that are perpetrating the crime. The same Fulani extremists. The same Fulani extremists. They are the one operating in Biafra land and in the northern part of Nigeria. The same silence cover-up is what we see on both sides. The same silence cover-up. The same silence. That is what we see on both sides. International community look away. Why the blood of innocent people cry out for Kaduna to Aba? They look away. Only suddenly, recently, because of their own interest, whatever, they began to pay attention. And I thank Chukwu Okabewa that they realized it. But yet, they are still separating it from the genocide in Biafra. It is one thing. It is one people conducting it. It is one government sponsoring it. But because of economic interest, they have failed to look onto the issue of Biafra. They always isolate it and take it away. But we will continue to throw it out there. There are men of conscience that will look into it and know that these two things are connected together. The Christian genocide in the north and the Igbo genocide in Biafra land are two sides of the same coin. They are two sides of the same coin. Any attempt to separate the two is an act of wickedness and pretense, and it is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. We cannot continue to fold our hand and watch these things happen. It is a time for us to take action. It's a time for the world to rise up and take action before it is too late. Protecting Biafra land and protecting the Christians in the north is also protecting the world. If these terrorists succeed in taking over the Biafra land and get their hands in the wealth, which is what they are pursuing, Europe will never be safe. America will not be safe. But for one reason or the other, the world are keeping silent. Even though when they know that the greatest ally the world can have to stop the terrorists in Sahel is Biafra. Every time the US will tell you that they are working hand in hand with Nigeria to stop terrorism. And I don't know what they are working with Nigeria. A terrorist country. You are working hand in hand with the terrorists to stop terrorism. How does it work? The same thing you have done in so many places in the Middle East and it never worked. You worked hand in hand with terrorists to destroy Iraq. You work hand in hand with terrorists to destroy Iraq. Today, has Iraq survived? You work hand in hand with terrorists. In Afghanistan, did it succeed? You work hand in hand with terrorists. In Libya, did it succeed? And you are repeating the same thing in Nigeria, working hand in hand with a terrorist. And you say you want to stop terrorism. You say you want to stop terrorism, and you're working with a terrorist country. It's not because we said it. You can imagine what prompted a court in a country like Finland, a civilized country like Canada. A civilized country like Canada, in their court, a judge, in a high court, a judge said that the ruling parties in Nigeria are terrorist organizations. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Go and Google it online. You will see it. A court in Canada confirmed that Nigerian ruling parties are terrorist organizations. And because of that, they denied them asylum in Canada. But for one reason or the other, these same terrorists continue to participate with the United Nations. I don't know why. These same terrorists continue to have a podium in United Nations to speak. That is when you hear about United Nations, you know they are not united. They have little or nothing to offer. In one hand, you want to stop terrorists, and in one hand, you are giving terrorists a podium to speak. In one hand, you want to stop terrorists. In one hand, you are sponsoring them. How does that add up? Every one of us that cares on the planet Earth, every human rights activist, every Biafran, we must speak louder now than ever. We must speak louder than the silence. And we must continue to document, expose crimes, so history will record that we say the truth. So history will record that we spoke and we said the truth. We must connect struggles. The Christian in Plateau and the Biafrans in Aba and other part of Igbo land are victims of the same system. They are victims of the same system. Whoever is speaking, human rights activists that are talking, you must connect this dot. These things are the same thing. You can't treat one and leave one. It will still infect the other. You don't treat one part and allow the other part to continue. If you want to treat infection, you treat it completely, outrightly, and let it go. The Christians in Plateau and the Biafrans in Aba, in Owerri, in Okigwe, in Enugu, they are victims of the same system. Victim of the same system. And you must not separate them. We must connect the struggles. Connect it. Every one of us as Biafrans, those that cares and matters, human rights activity of the world, we must pressure the world to recognize these acts as genocide. What is going on today against the Christians in the north and what is going on in Biafra land is nothing else than genocide. We must unite as a people, because divided we are weak, but together we cry and shake the heavens. There are so many evidence to show that Nigerian government is fully involved in the atrocities we are seeing, the genocide that is going on both in the northern part of Nigeria against the Christians and the one that is happening against Biafrans in Biafra land. There are numerous evidence to show that. We have seen confessional videos that are coming out from people who were eyewitness. We have seen confessional video from people who are on ground where things happen. Some are of recent, some are in the past. These videos continue to come and nobody has been able to deny it. I want you to hear this one. When we talk about government involvement in this very genocide, it is not a made-up story.
people were killed. When I woke up this morning and I got the story of what happened, the first 7 calls I put across were all killed. The first 7 guys I called,
you tried to call, we're all dead.
Exactly. They were all dead. So in my village today, if you speak to someone, just be very rest assured that in the next 1 week or 2 weeks, you hear the sad news about that person you've just spoken to. And do you know, before now, just last month, about 20 people were killed in that same village. They are the Fulani, and it's not ethnic profiling. They are the Fulani, it's not ethnic profiling. When people want to be politically correct, they will say, no, that is an ethnic, it's not, and that is why you see the Sultan of Sokoto will not react to this. He reacted when just about 11 people were butchered were killed in Edo State, the so-called hunters. They reacted. They put up Northern Elders Forum. They made several press conferences. Many governors stood up. The governor of Edo had to travel to some of these states to go and say sorry. Just 11 hunters, that is alleged hunters, if really they were hunters.
They were not
hunters. Who were killed. Now, 200, nobody in the north is speaking. Because that is the collective agenda. Jihad and the complete takeover of the land of our people. And let me tell you, so I'm saying it authoritatively. I'm an authority in this area. I was born and raised in Jos. I speak Hausa as my first language. I speak Hausa better than I speak Tiv. And let me tell you, this thing they call intelligence. We are the sources of this intelligence. The government sometimes use the narrative of intelligence to confuse you, as if what they know is different. They know exactly what we know, or we even know better, because we are the sources of this intelligence. Many of my friends from the adjoining villages in Nasarawa State, who are of different ethnic group other than the Fulanis, anytime the Fulanis are mobilizing, like this attack, they told us day before yesterday. We communicated to the security force. Nothing has been done. They communicated.
Did you hear that? Whenever this attack is coming, they will communicate to the security forces and nothing will be done. In the same manner in Biafra land, the difference is that in Biafra land, it is the security forces themselves that are carrying out the genocide. In the case of Biafra, it is the security officers themselves that are carrying it. But in the northern part of Nigeria against the Christians, when they report to the security officers, they will never pay attention.
No, just hold on, because this is too much to rush. I'm sorry. Are you saying that you got an intelligence report as a civilian? Your
yes.
community had an intelligence report about this particular attack that killed over 200 people, and you.
My sister, do you know the funny thing? It is no longer secret. It's just like the secret cultism in Nigeria. They gathered their AK-47 in a community called Giza in Nasarawa State, in the boundary between Nasarawa and Benue, in Giza and Kadorko. All our friends from there, and they come out in the open with their this, and they hold a meeting openly. You know, they are going to strike in Hirota, and then some people begin to beat them farewell. Allah Ikekulafia, Allah Ikekulafia.
Are you hearing? This is an eyewitness account. This man speaking is from Yelwata himself, from the very place where 200 people were burned to death, some in their sleep, children, women, including pregnant women. That they got the intel and they formed the government. Look at what is going to happen. Look at what they are planning. And when they were going for the operation, they didn't go in secret. They celebrated it and they went out, and calls came to them and said, look at what is going to happen. They called the security officers and they never showed up. They never showed up. And 200 human beings lost their life in Yelwata. And there was no outrage. Nobody has been held accountable till date as we speak. Nobody. Nobody has been prosecuted up to this moment. Even their media could not report it. The only person that went there to report it was Very Dark Man. Very Dark Man was the person who went all the way to Yelwata to cover the event himself. In fact, he was the one that revealed the real picture of how the thing happened. And what did the media, international media, do? They took down those videos where he posted it. They took the video down on Facebook. They took the video down on Twitter. They took the video down in all the platforms where he posted it. They took them down. Sponsored by Nigerian government. You know, the world is ruled by money. All this social media network we're using, all they need is money. They opened it for money. And as long as you can be able to pay the price, they will do what you tell them to do. And Nigerian government is ready to pay anything to hide the evil that is happening in the land. But I thank you coming today. After so many months, Yelwata is now coming back on the stage. And there are people. There was a time Benue State buried more than 200 people in a day. It didn't start today. It's not just Yelwata. Plateau State, it is not once, not twice. It didn't start today. In Borno, the same thing. In Enugu State, it happened. But nobody cares. All of a sudden today we wake up and they are talking about it. We'll thank Chukwu Okeke, at least they are speaking about it. But why are they disconnecting it with what is happening in Biafra land? It is the same thing, the same strategy, the same project, the same program. Only that of Biafra land, the Fulanese cannot be able to penetrate Biafra. They don't have that upper hand. They don't have that might. They don't have that courage to go there. Now the federal government are the one carrying out the operation on their behalf. Using the recruited Fulani terrorists, gave them uniform and ammunition to go to Biafra and begin to take innocent life. And there are numerous evidence to that. If not, why must you go to a house of innocent people? You burn the house, burn the properties, simply because you heard that this person is a member of IPOB. You go on the road, you see somebody riding on the bike, you shoot the person. Why is he riding on the bike on the street? You go into a village, any young man from 15 years upwards, you eliminate that person for doing nothing, only because the person is a Biafran. The exact thing the terrorist is doing in the northern part of Nigeria, wiping villages and clearing places for themselves. That is what the military is doing in Biafran territory. And nobody seems to pay attention, because here it's about the interests of the colonial masters, the West. They protect their interests. That is why they can't talk about Biafra. And they choose to talk about the Christian killings in the north, and they separate it. And they forgot that Biafrans themselves are 19% Christians. That is where their persecution have intensified since 1966 up to date. Why are you separating the two? That's the another evil that needs to be targeted and stopped.
May God take God take you safely. May God take you safely. Yes, they came in more than 100 bikes. Listen, but that is how your country has degenerated.
Tell them
that these things are done in broad daylight. It has degenerated. And let me tell you, let me also shock you. About 7 soldiers, I'm saying it as it is, about 7 soldiers joined them from the Giza, the community, are joining my own village. They arrested one who uttered all this, made this confession. He said some of the soldiers from Giza trained them of ethnic Fulani ethnic stock, and they joined them. They commandeered the whole thing. So what they did yesterday was extremely tactical and strategic with military precision. Right now, there are a lot of tea villages in my council ward that will be taken over by Fulani. They take over not just for grazing, but for proper settlement. You go to these villages today, you find even their kids crawling, small kids who are yet to start walking. They brought them, their families, occupying thief homes, thief houses, which are still standing, occupying those houses. And they have their kids there, not just their cattle. So it's not all about open grazing prohibition. It's about total takeover of the land.
You can imagine what is happening in a place where you have a country. This is what Nigerian government have been coming and telling you is farmer herders clashes. This is a confession coming from an eyewitness account. The same terrorists that come to commit that genocide and take innocent life and drive people away from their homes, they will go ahead and